Welcome to those that have joined. We'll get started in 1 or 2 minutes. Just give a little bit more time for others to join. Okay, I think we'll get started. Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on Helix Knowledge Management, a new journey. We're fortunate to be represented by 2 product managers today, Bjorn and Erik. I'll have them introduce themselves shortly. Just a couple of reminders, if you have or haven't been on Zoom before, there is the Q&A section at the bottom that you can use to ask questions during the presentation. This will be a live presentation. And at the end, we will have some time to answer questions live. So without further ado, let me hand over to Bjorn firstly.
Thank you, Samantha. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you and really nice that you can join today. My name is Bjorn Björkman and I'm based in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm a lead product manager in the employee experience team, working together with Erik with knowledge management. I joined BMC about 3 years ago and actually joined BMC through the acquisition of ComAround, where I have been working in the knowledge management space for 20 years plus or so. So a lot of experience in knowledge management and talking about these subjects with our customers. So that's shortly about me. Over to you, Erik.
Yeah, thank you, Bjorn. And thank you, Amanda, and thank you all for joining this call. My name is Erik. I am the product manager for the application BMC Helix Knowledge Management, which we will be talking about today. Similar to Bjorn's story, I also joined BMC from the acquisition with ComAround. So I've been working with product development and also helping our customers to be successful within the area of knowledge management and KCS. So let's get started. First of all, I want you to read this short notice from our legal department. I want to inform you that we will upload this webinar on YouTube and we will share it on LinkedIn. So please be aware of that. Give this a quick read. Okay. So the agenda for today, I will start with talking about a bit about knowledge management, and then transition over to talk about the application BMC Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround and key benefits. I will then hand over to Bjorn for a demo to sort of visualize what I have been talking about, and then we will wrap it up by covering the vision and strategy that we have for knowledge management going forward. So let's begin this with a very fundamental question. What is knowledge management and why does it matter? Why should we care about this in a world with more or less unlimited access to information? Knowledge management is the process of capturing, structuring, and sharing an organization's information and expertise to achieve its objectives and enhance its overall performance. It includes the systematic management of both explicit knowledge and also tacit knowledge to facilitate decision-making, learning, and problem-solving. And there are, of course, many benefits of doing this, but to mention a few of them, efficiency. Effective knowledge management helps us to streamline processes by ensuring that information and expertise are readily available when needed. And that saves us, in the end, it saves us time and also cost. Innovation, knowledge management encourages the sharing of ideas, best practices, and lessons learned, fostering an environment where innovation thrives. Organizational learning, this is a good one. It enables us to learn from our past experience and avoiding repeating mistakes that we may have done in the past. Customer satisfaction, and this also translates into employee satisfaction, depending on what kind of organization you are. But when we have access to relevant knowledge, we can provide a much better customer service. We can provide a better employee service or user service in terms of support. Consistency. With knowledge management, we ensure that we standardize procedure, best practices, and up-to-date information by capturing and structuring knowledge in the same way every time. And if we do this really well, we can put everything into self-service in various contexts, such as customer service, IT support, or similar. But perhaps even more important, by practicing knowledge management, we can get information that we can trust. Our knowledge base becomes a single point of truth, full of information that we can trust. And this will give us a competitive advantage. Organizations that effectively manage their knowledge are much better equipped to adapt to changing circumstances and outshine competitors. So in today's rapidly advancing technological landscape, it is essential to recognize the critical role that knowledge management plays as the foundation for artificial intelligence and GPT technologies. GPT models are trained on vast amounts of data and text, and then use a subset of AI technologies such as machine learning to produce a human-like output by predicting text, such as predicting next word or predicting the next sentence or paragraph. And this is based on the typical sequence of the training data it has access to. ChatGPT, as an example, was trained with online information, text found on internet, to learn the human language. And then it used transcripts to learn the basic of conversations. Now, imagine putting your knowledge base to use to train your GPT models. An organization's collective experience as structured knowledge, organized and categorized knowledge that has been validated and improved. Information we can trust, fed into these models, enabling them to understand and reuse this information to generate human-like text and answers relevant for our organization. And because we do this all the time, knowledge management is a continuous process of keeping our knowledge up to date and making it better. As our organization grows and changes, so should our knowledge base. And with that, our AI and GPT technologies will always be up to date with what we know. So in conclusion, knowledge management will give you a competitive edge when it comes to introducing AI and GPT technologies in your organization. And this is a bit of my own prediction, but I would say going forward, business organizations who use GPT will most likely have an advantage compared with organizations who don't. I guess we have to wait and see. But with this, I can tell you that BMC is investing in both GPT with our own Helix GPT and also in knowledge management with ComAround, which we will be covering today. In this webinar, we will tell you all about our new knowledge journey with ComAround as the knowledge provider for BMC Helix application and how you can use this to build a successful knowledge strategy within your organization. We hope that you will find this session to be both educational and inspiring, with valuable takeaways that you can apply to your own professional endeavors. BMC Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround. What is it? Why buy ComAround? So BMC Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround is a new knowledge provider in BMC Helix, in the BMC Helix ecosystem. It's a cloud-based knowledge management software designed to provide the best possible experience around knowledge management, both for what we call knowledge worker, which is typically someone working in services to provide their organization with knowledge to serve them, and also for end users in a self-service scenario. This whole solution is built on a combination of our own expertise, process, KCS process, and cloud-based technology, with a design and user experience that strives to encourage users to contribute and participate in the knowledge management process. In short, BMC Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround is easy to use. It will make your work with knowledge management more effective, and I hope that when you use it, you also think it's a bit fun. So let's talk a bit about the benefits, or really what makes ComAround different. And this is not a comparison with other solutions available in the BMC ecosystem today. It's more of a, let's say, comparison with the knowledge management business in general, things that we have picked up along the way that when we have been active in this industry. So first, of course, KCS. Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround is a KCS V6 verified application. And this is a great advantage in the knowledge management community. This is something that will tell anyone, any customer user that this is an application that will do the job. This is an application that has gone through the process of being a verified KCS V6 application. So KCS is short for knowledge-centered service. It is a best practice methodology within knowledge management that provides a detailed description of how service organizations can work more effectively with knowledge to improve things like service delivery, to become more productive, decrease costs, etc. And I do understand that when starting to read about KCS and when sort of look at the information available of this process, I do understand that it might seem a bit heavy and about too much to begin with. It is a quite heavy process to adapt to and to implement in your organization. And I like to simplify this. I like to talk about KCS as a blueprint for knowledge management. It's a blueprint for how to work with knowledge and how to structure and maintain your knowledge base. I would say that you could be very successful with knowledge management, not applying KCS full on. You can still work according to KCS, picking sort of bits and pieces from the recommendations that this process comes with to greatly improve your work with knowledge management. So as an example, if we look at these boxes here, integrate knowledge into the problem-solving process. So what this means is basically that we should use our knowledge base first. When we start to solve problems, we should first search our knowledge base to see if someone has created the knowledge articles that will solve the issue that we are working on. Evolve content based on demand and usage. This means that we create or update our knowledge articles when there is a demand for it. We should not spend time creating knowledge articles just because we think we might need them in the future. That's putting us at risk at spending time on something that will never ever be used. But instead, when we get questions, if I'm working a service desk, I get a question, we don't have a knowledge article for that particular question, then I can go ahead and create a new knowledge article. That's demand-driven knowledge management. Develop a knowledge base of our collective experience to date. I talked about this before. Knowledge management is something that we get to do every day. Our organizations change all the time. We get new policies, new technologies, things happens, right? And when we change, so need our knowledge base. We cannot do knowledge management today and then not do it tomorrow. Then our knowledge base will become out of date. So in short, our knowledge base will not be 100% correct and complete forever. This is something that we need to do over and over again. And lastly, we should, of course, reward the people that put time and efforts into improving our knowledge management and our knowledge base, and reward people who collaborate around knowledge that we can use as an organization. Search is another thing that we have got a lot of positive feedback from over the years. Search is, of course, a very important part of knowledge management. If we can't find our knowledge, there's no point of having knowledge. The search technology we use in ComAround comes from Microsoft. It's Azure Cognitive Search. And this has then been fine-tuned to become extremely accurate when it comes to finding knowledge article. This is what our search do. And this search experience is something that we have also now implemented into digital workplace as an example. So the self-service experience knowledge is provided by the search experience in ComAround. Same thing for ITSM. Service desk agents using Smart IT also use the ComAround search when they look for knowledge articles with ComAround as the knowledge provider. Last of the benefits I want to mention is data and reporting. Data, reports, insights. This is something that is so important these days. I would say that this is something that comes up in pretty much every discussion I have with customers. And this is something we need because it helps us to make better decisions in the end. Same thing goes for knowledge management. Data and reporting, key element of knowledge management and KCS because it helps us to evaluate and understand the work and effort we put into knowledge management. With the reports available in ComAround, we are able to understand user behavior, and this relates to finding knowledge gaps. So looking at what kind of knowledge is my organization looking for, what kind of knowledge is not, they can't find, it's not relevant. That's something that we should react on, right? This is something that we should notify and immediately start to analyze to see if there's a need to update our knowledge base or perhaps change our articles a bit to make them more relevant. Reporting also gives us the opportunity to monitor how well our knowledge worker is following the process that we have defined for our organization. This is where we start to look for moments to coach our knowledge workers and make sure that they create articles in the way that we have defined, and so forth. So to summarize what I have been talking about and to position us a little bit for the demo that Bjorn will do within short. So the result and outcome of our knowledge management efforts starts with how we capture knowledge. If we capture knowledge on demand, we will end up with relevant knowledge in our knowledge base. When we capture knowledge, we should use the word and phrases from the requester, because that will in the end give us a much better findability. Because when this user goes to DWP in a self-service scenario and start looking for knowledge article, they will probably use the same words and phrases as they do when they report a problem into service desk. So it's important that we use the same kind of language when we capture knowledge. Every interaction is opportunity to capture new knowledge. And because we have a defined structure for articles, our knowledge will be the same all the time. We will get a knowledge base with consistent knowledge. And as the article starts its journey through the knowledge lifecycle, we have the opportunity to review it, make changes, ensure that the articles we provide meet the quality standards we have defined for our knowledge. And this is also a great opportunity to review the process adherence and find these moments to coach our community of knowledge workers. When our article is validated and approved, we will be able to provide our organization with knowledge that is based on demand and usage and up to date with our collective experience as an organization. And this will set us up for a great self-service experience in the end. Okay, Bjorn, are you ready?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Erik. So I will then take us through a couple of different scenarios from different user perspectives or different personas. And this will be on a high level to showcase the concept and try to connect back to what Erik has been talking about. So you can skip to the next slide. So these are the different personas or use cases I wanted to briefly go through. We will start with the service desk agent with the use case of searching and using and reusing knowledge in the service desk agent's daily work and in the process of solving issues. Then we will also have a look at the manager role, who can use the knowledge console to get access to the entire knowledge base and work with the knowledge structure or view analytics and reports as examples. And then we will also touch on and have a look at the end user and the self-service part. And the outcome of knowledge management and how the end user can gain from that in a self-service scenario, which is the goal of knowledge management, to be able to shift left and achieve case deflection through self-help. So with that, let me share my screen and I will take you into the demo environment. To start with, I'm now logged in as a service desk agent in the BMC Helix IT service management tool. And I have, in this scenario, a user on the phone. I have Hannah on the phone, and the issue here is connecting to VPN. So what I want to do now is go to the smart recorder and start capturing the issue that the user is having. So I will find the user Hannah and can't connect to the end. And as I'm typing here, it will perform a search to present relevant information and resources to the right. And there will be a list with recommended knowledge articles that I can directly use to solve this issue that the user is having. I can also, from this view, open up the article if I want to review the content. And I will get the full article with text, images, and embedded videos and everything. And from this view, I can also perform some other actions. I can go ahead up here in the right corner, flag this article. If I detected that something is wrong with it, it needs to be updated by someone else and so on. I can also share the article right away to the end user via email and use it that way. Or I can go ahead and edit and do the updates myself if I have the confidence and the knowledge about the topic, and of course if I have the right permissions to do so. But in this case, this article is exactly what I'm looking for. I think this is going to help me. So I can then go back to the smart recorder. And what I want to do now, before I go ahead and create a ticket, is that I want to pin this article. And when I'm doing that, it will attach to the ticket I'm about to create, and it will create an attachment and the relationship between the article and the ticket. And this is really important for the reporting. And when you want to follow up, you can see in how many cases or tickets has this article been used as part of the resolution and to help to solve this issue. So that's a really important thing, and that's what we call the article association. So that's an example of the scenario when a service desk agent can search and find knowledge articles, review them, and reuse them as part of the process of solving issues. But let's say in another case, I've done the search and I didn't find any articles that was matching what I was looking for. What I want to do then is to click on more and create new, and to create a new knowledge article to add that to the knowledge base. And that will open up the article editor view, where I will be presented with an out-of-the-box predefined KCS knowledge article template. The service agent shouldn't have to think about how to structure the information. What information should go in what fields. This should be very clear and simple, so it's quick and easy to create these new knowledge articles in a consistent way. We want the articles to be consistent. We want the structure in the content to support findability and searchability for the search engine. So that's important. As I start to name this article and type the title, I will immediately get the option to check for duplicates. And of course, we want to do this because we don't want to have a lot of similar articles in the knowledge base clogging up or even have the same of a lot of articles. So this is a way to prevent that, and I will get a list with possible duplicates and how well they are matching what I'm trying to create here. And I also want to point out that it's not really at this stage important to create a complete 100% ready and well done knowledge article. The important thing here is to capture the issue in the context of the user and in the wordings of the user, so that I can save this as a work in progress or a draft even, which means that other agents running into the similar issues can search and find and notice that there already is someone else who has started a knowledge article about this. And then they can either reuse it or go ahead and improve and add to it. And that way, on demand, it will be taken through the process and eventually, hopefully, get validated, approved, and published, even for self-service for the end user. And that kind of takes us to the next persona when I'm talking about the self-service part. So let's switch to that and open up a self-service portal. And self-service for end users or employees, it can be in any channel. In this case, we are looking at a self-service portal built on the BMC Helix digital workplace. Could also be a chatbot or a virtual agent. But in this self-service portal, the user will get access to various different things, the catalog items, to do service requests. They can see their favorite services and the active events they have under My Activities and so on. But in this case, what we want to do is we want to find an answer to how to connect or my problem with the VPN. So I will ask, can connect to VPN? And it will perform a search and present different items, both catalog items to do a request, but also knowledge articles. And I can actually also sort this by clicking on the tab for articles to only see the knowledge here. I can do a quick preview to see this, but I can also click and see the full view of the entire knowledge article with all its content, with images and the embedded video as well. And as an end user, I can also contribute by giving feedback if this information was helpful or not, and that will of course go into the reporting, and we'll be able to follow up on that and help keeping the quality and detect gaps and where we need to do some work on our knowledge base. So last but not least, the third persona I was talking about was the knowledge manager or the knowledge coach or the knowledge worker that want to do a bit more work in depth with the knowledge base. They have the possibility to go to what we call the knowledge console. So that will open up the knowledge console in this view, and we don't have time to cover everything that you can do here in the knowledge console today. So I'm just briefly going to highlight some of the capabilities. And on this landing page, you can have like a top menu here where you can promote or display your prioritized categories with SAP categories and so on for an easy and quick access to those articles. But of course, you can also use the search engine to search, and this will perform a search of the entire knowledge base for all the articles, and then you can continue to narrow down using the tags on the right-hand side, or also filter options for knowledge states or created by or only see flagged articles and so on. So this is the way to navigate and find what you are looking for. Under the settings menu, by clicking on the cogwheel, you will get access to a bunch of configurations and admin settings. Not going to go through all of those. What I wanted to highlight was the content editor. And this is where you work with your structure of your knowledge base, creating your categories and SAP categories, and maintain your structure. Also under the settings menu, we have the last part I was going to go into, the business intelligence and reporting section. And in here, you will get access to a bunch of out-of-the-box reports and dashboards for to do your follow-ups and do your analytics. You can look at flagged articles. You can see search, all the search strings and all the searches that has been done by end users in the self-service channels and by service desk agents in all the different applications. Or just simply watch all the views of the articles in the entire knowledge base during your given time period that you want to extract this information. And you can actually sort on the different roles from the readers, end users, or managers, or other roles. You can sort on languages and a lot of different drill down opportunities in here as well. So that was a quick overview and kind of a walkthrough of what Erik has been talking about. So we can actually go back to the slide deck, Erik.
Just a moment. We have a couple of questions, and I think that we can answer at least two of them before we leave. I think perhaps that's easier to show. So if you go back to Smart IT interface, the first question reads, when the agent opens an article from results, how can they tell if it's a public article versus an internal article? And I think we do have it on the screen, right? We have the user, we have the user request, and we have the search result to the right here. And if we look at the first, if we look at the first article, VPN issue troubleshooting, we can see that it has status published. That means that this article is externally available. Any end user can pick it up. And if we go down to the second article, connecting to an existing VPN connection, we see that it has the status of approved. This article is not available for end users and are to be considered as internal. However we want to define it, this partially relies on how we want to define these things in our organizations. But typically, approved means that it's an article that is okay to use within service desk. Hope that answers the question. So the second question reads, is there a way to categorize articles in knowledge categories and to browse them in a hierarchy rather than just in search result? If not, what is the reason for that? And I think you covered that one, Bjorn, right? You went through the sort of the menu thing where you can open up the menus and browse through the different articles. So this is a taxonomy that customers can structure themselves using a folder, parent-child hierarchy, much similar to what we have in let's say Windows. So this is one way that we can categorize content. We also have content tags. So if you do a search, Bjorn, at the top here, we see a couple of tags. So these are a tool we can use to sort of group articles together. Now, when we search for VPN, the only tags that show up are the tags related to the articles in the search result. If Bjorn search for something else, the list of tags will change, right? So as I said, this is another way to sort of create connections between articles or group them together. It's another way to navigate, if you will. Hope that answers the question. I don't know if you can respond. You're probably on mute, but anyway. There are a couple of more questions here, but I think perhaps we wait with them until end. Oh, respond. Thank you very much. Perfect. Okay. Shall I take the screen?
Yes,
and
please.
we will come back to the other questions at the end of the webinar.
Great.
All right.
Yes, so the next section I'm going to cover is a bit more forward-looking. What are we working on right now? I will come to what's kind of our vision and some of our strategic roadmap items or focus areas. So next slide, please. And what we really want to achieve on this journey that we are on, and we think this is really important, is a unified experience when interacting with the knowledge base within the entire BMC Helix platform or the ecosystem of applications. And this is, of course, an ongoing process, and it has already come a long way in many cases, but it is something that we will continue to improve as we move forward. And we have the BMC Helix IT Service Management tool, as we saw in the demo, where the service desk agents are supported by knowledge in their daily work of solving problems by searching, reviewing, and reusing articles, or also contributing by creating new articles that can be reused by other agents. But this is not only for IT, it's also connected to and can be used by other lines of businesses, such as HR, facilities, or finance. And that's being done in the application called BMC Helix Business Workflows. And all these articles being created in the IT space or the ITSM or the lines of businesses in business workflows, when they go through, of course, they're being used by the service desk agents for IT and the HR admins or agents for HR. But as they go through the process and get validated, approved, and in the end, hopefully published for self-service for the end users or the employees, they will be available and up in the self-service applications like digital workplace that we looked at, or the Helix virtual agent, the chatbot, to support the end user and to provide information and answer, and of course for what we call case deflection, so the end user can get the answer and not have to submit the ticket. Also, with our extended API capabilities, it's also possible to present and to make these knowledge articles available in other places, in other web pages, could be intranet sites in SharePoint or Episerver, for example, but also in other third-party applications like customer service systems, like Genesis of IA and so on. So it is an ecosystem of different applications using the power of this knowledge base. On the side here, we also have the exciting things going on with Helix GPT that's going to connect into all of this and provide of course, new possibilities. And I will touch a little bit about that in the next slide, connected to knowledge management knowledge. But so what? Oh, go back. I just want to finish up and summarize this. What we really want to do here is to have one powerful knowledge management solution that kind of feeds all the systems and applications. We want to have one place to add, update, and maintain the articles that can be reused in an omni-channel strategy. And this is what really gives a great and a unified experience. Now, next slide, please. So, last but not least, I wanted to touch on the vision and kind of some of the strategic items in our roadmap, or It's kind of more of strategic focus areas that we are working on right now. And a unified experience, I just talked about that, and the focus areas to move ahead and to support this is to continue to improve the integrations of Helix Knowledge Management by ComAround for a native experience and an efficient agent workflow. We want to achieve fewer click to actions and in the end, faster time to resolution by the use of knowledge with accuracy and consistency. Knowledge V Next, that's kind of the working name for the next version of the entire knowledge console that we also looked at, where mainly the managers or the coaches or knowledge workers do their work with the structure, the quality, and the analytics and the follow-ups and the reporting. So we are working on improved user experience with an updated design, even more aligned with the BMC environment in whole, and better searchabilities and capabilities to do the structuring and work with the structure of the knowledge to support maintenance and keeping your knowledge base in a healthy state. Analytics and reports, always a very, very important area, as Erik said, comes up in every discussion. And here we want to do improvements on how to track user behavior and to get actionable insights and to use those insights to build value-based reports, to detect gaps in the knowledge base, to detect areas of improvements in or where we need to coach, or it's a lot of things that we want to have as a value-based report. And we also want to have ways to combine data from the different applications in the ecosystem. And we want to gather this and do this out of the box in what's called the BMC Helix dashboards. That's the vision and what we are working towards. And at the end, the Helix GPT area, very exciting. And of course, this is what's on everybody's lips right now. And everybody's talking about GPT functionality. And it's an exciting area overall, but examples connected to knowledge in particular, we are in the process of researching and designing for capabilities that we call right now for talk to the knowledge base. And what we mean about that is to have more of a conversational approach instead of just searching and presenting links that the user clicks on and opens up an article and reads an article. So instead, when a user asks a question, to have Helix GPT search and scan the entire knowledge base or the relevant part of the knowledge base and or other sources for that matters, and to create out of that information, to create and provide a direct answer instead of linking to different knowledge articles. We have to create new articles, another area where we are looking into how we can use Helix GPT to scan and use existing data and information in, for example, tickets or incidents and resolution descriptions and so on, to auto-create knowledge articles that can be, on the later stage, be reviewed and then reused in this unified knowledge solution that we are aiming for. So there's a lot of very exciting stuff going on with this Helix GPT, and I'm sure you're going to hear much more about it looking forward. I think that was, if you go to the next slide, I think this was the last I had, so I think I will hand it over to you, Samantha.
So we've got quite a few questions still in the Q&A. I don't know, Tanya, if you had all of yours answered, because I did see that you were in there and I hadn't actually given you the ability to speak. So I don't know if you want to go through any of your questions firstly. don't know if you can hear me, Tanya. If you can, you are in a position that you can unmute yourself. The same with anyone else that may have some questions for today. We want to use this as an opportunity for you to speak live. I can see you've responded a fair bit on your questions. So oh, hello.
Apologies. Yes, I did have my questions answered. Thank you so much. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, thank you. We will be sending out the Q&A after today's event. So any of the questions that were answered live or whether they're answered through the chat, we will accumulate together and send out as part of a blog post on communities. But I'll send that in one email. So thank you for confirming.
I do think we have a couple of questions there, right, that we can answer real quickly. I do believe there was a question about flagging. More specifically, when someone flags an article, does the article author get a notification about that? And answer is yes, they do. The author will get the notification when an article is flagged, including the reason why the article was flagged. And when the article is fixed, another message goes back to the person flagging the article, telling them that your flag has been corrected. That's how it works.
Okay, thank you. A couple more questions actually that we have in here. So there was another question: how does this integrate with Helix chatbot, and what does the roadmap for moving away from Watson and using this as a chatbot endpoint? Was another question that came out.
Yeah, I can answer that. It's very well integrated with the chatbot, the BMC Helix virtual agent. As a user, you can ask the chatbot, and it will search for knowledge articles and present knowledge articles from the Helix knowledge management knowledge base. So it's integrated. That's one of the self-service channels I was mentioning, besides the digital workplace or the self-service portal. Regarding Watson system, well, my answer is I don't think there's an active project moving away from Watson assistant. Of course, we are always looking at flexibilities and opportunities and options, and Helix GPT might open up for flexibility and other ways to do things, but I'm not really the one to answer regarding that roadmap or the plans or the vision for that. We can take that back and provide an answer coming from the right source.
Thank you, Bjorn. I'm not sure who actually asked that question because it's anonymous, but if you do have any further questions or responses, feel free to drop us another question in the Q&A. Moving on, because I'm conscious we've only got a few more minutes left and we've got a few more questions in there and one hand raised. So Venkat has asked, do we have a demo instance to access and showcase it to the client? So I don't know, Venkat, if you want to come off mute.
Well, I can answer. Yes, we have. That's the short answer. Please reach out to me or Bjorn or both, and let's set you up with what you need.
Thank you, Erik. I'm just putting a note in there, and I will pass on Venkat's details from my Zoom account. Okay. Next question is, do article owners receive notifications if an article has been flagged?
Yes, I just answered that question.
Sorry, I was reading Venkat's one around the demo. It's perfect. Okay, you're one step ahead of me. And then the next question was from Andreas. Hello, Andreas. I know you do like to speak, so feel free to come off mute. Do you want to ask your question live? You're quite capable of doing that.
I mean, the question is putting knowledge back into documentation like docs, bmc.com part of any of the usual knowledge management processes was my question. And the reason behind I'm asking this is because, I mean, I've seen many times where, I mean, I've been working with BMC and BMC support, and I've seen many times where I would have expected to have something actually being properly documented in documentation, but it was a lot of the times not the case. And then if you're lucky, there is a knowledge article out there, but it's like never put into documentation, and was a lot of the times quite annoying me. So I was wondering,
all right,
if you had
so
any thoughts on this?
So there are documentation on BMC docs.bmc.com covering ComAround application, covering sort of connection parts, how to connect the dots with ITSM, Edit Workplace, and so forth. So there's plenty to read about that. Hope that answers your question.
Oh, no, not really. No.
Okay, could you please repeat your question?
So the question is really, so I mean, I think I explained the problem pretty well. I mean, you have the problem that, I mean, there are always knowledge articles, but there seems always like to be a process gap that knowledge articles are not then fed back into documentation, and like knowledge is then like spread across so many things, and it's just not consolidated in one place. And I was just wondering if from a framework, like from a knowledge framework perspective, is this kind of part of any of the frameworks, or is this not part of any of the frameworks, and you have to kind of come up with a separate process to actually feed the knowledge back into documentation, so it's not like spread across so many articles or whatever?
Okay, so I would say it depends. I'm absolutely agreeing with you that knowledge should be a centralized source, right? And that's what Bjorn was talking about. That's our goal. That's what we want to achieve. And that's, of course, I mean, how you would utilize knowledge in your organization. We want BMC to be the sort of central hub for knowledge management with ComAround as the engine. I'm not really sure what you mean by transferring over knowledge into documentation. For me, those two can be two separate things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good to me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andreas. Okay, so next question is from Madhu. Madhu, I can see you've got your hand up. Do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, I did ask question. The question is the knowledge-based ComAround, knowledge management ComAround, does it support on-premises? Only on SaaS only?
It does not support on-prem. It's a cloud-only application.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, but just checking with you, cross-checking.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madhu. While you are, or you've asked your question, did you have any other questions?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we have another question from Clifford Bloss. Bulk updates of articles have been a concern issue with our current knowledge management within Remedy Smart IT. Does this new application have a better bulk update option? And I don't know, Clifford, if you want to speak live as well.
Yeah, so this question comes up a lot with our current knowledge management. If a group name changes or they've got a bulk update articles, you know, it's very difficult to try to search articles and do bulk updates within articles because people use names, you know, like our support group names or a person's name, it might be somebody else. So we don't have any bulk update options when that occurs. So I was just curious if this new application, we can do bulk updates to articles.
Thank you for that. So there's some bulk update capabilities already in the application. Let's say you want to change knowledge state for a number of articles. That's something you can do. What you're describing is something that we are actually exploring.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I've heard it from other places. Let's put it like that. So I think it's a very interesting path.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, like the like a common theme that we have is, our group names changes, our
right,
our infrastructure organization changes, and so group A may be called group B, for example. So we want to find all the articles. We can find all the articles that are owned or authored by group A and change them to group B. But if somebody puts in the article actual description and the details, the body, if you will, group A, we have no way of going through and bulk updating those to all group B, because it's all, it's all HTML code basically stored in Remedy, and it doesn't give us that option to change it. So being that these articles are free form, we've always had a very difficult time trying to go through articles, and they'll update as they find one. Is how basically it goes. So
so I'm looking at this from sort of two different ways. We have one item would be updating metadata.
Right.
Perhaps you want to update an author name for multiple articles, something like that. That could be one scenario. I also see perhaps having sort of blocks of text that we can modify in bulk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some boxes saying something on multiple articles, and then we change version. So we just go into the box and we change the version, and we push publish, and we go out to every place where it exists. Something like that. As I said, it's something we explore and talk about. I don't have a roadmap item for this yet, but it's definitely something that I would like to see in ComAround going forward.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Erik and Bjorn. Okay, so that's all of the questions that we've got. We are 2 minutes over, so I just want to give an opportunity, because there's quite a lot of questions we've had. Does anyone else have any more questions before we close?
Perhaps I can add a comment real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So first, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you guys. And if you want to continue talk about knowledge management, KCS, feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to discuss this topic with you. Just want to let you know that.
Erik, and obviously I'll be sending out today one of the recordings from either the morning or this afternoon's or this evening for me session. We will send out the Q&A and I'll merge them together, because we had a couple of different questions come from this morning. Conscious of time, we haven't had a chance to go through those, but I'll put them into one formal email, and over the next day or so I'll send that out to everyone. And as Erik and Bjorn have said, if you do want to reach out, I'll make sure that their details are available. And thank you for presenting today, and thank you for attending.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.